Christine, how much does it hurt the WNBA when Caitlin Clark is out?
It is devastating to the WNBA when Caitlin Clark is.
Now, I know a lot of us were expecting some sort of dip since Caitlin Clark has been out with injury, but I don't think all of us were expecting the entire viewership of the entire WNBA to be down. And this tweet from Christine Brennan really stuck out to me. She said one player gets injured and more than half the TV audience for the entire league disappears. Has any other athlete ever had that kind of impact on a sport? Golf without Tiger definitely dropped precipitously on occasion.
The WNBA is spiraling into a financial nosedive, left scrambling as its foundation collapses in real time without Caitlin Clark on the floor. With each game she misses, empty seats multiply, TV ratings plunge, and merch booths collect dust. All exposing the brutal truth. The league built its resurgence on one player and forgot to protect her. Now, as Clark recovers, the WNBA stubbornly clings to denial while bleeding revenue and relevance. This isn't just a rough patch, it's a self-inflicted disaster. And the longer they ignore it, the closer they get to losing the only spotlight they've had in decades.
Facts are facts, and the truth is the truth, and the data is there. And what we saw when Caitlin was out the last time, the 5 games that she missed earlier in the season, the WNBA's viewership dropped more than 50%. Not just the Fever, but the entire league.
In today's era of clickbait, chaos, and online outrage, truth is about as scarce as packed WNBA arenas without Caitlin Clark. When she went down with a quad injury back on May 24th, the league's glaring over-reliance on her became impossible to ignore. Now, with a groin injury putting her on the shelf again for who knows how long, it's déjà vu all over again. The crowds vanish, the buzz dies, and the WNBA is left scrambling. Because without Clark, the spotlight doesn't just dim, it disappears.
Quad injury jumped to her groin likely because of compensation. But the thing that you have to be careful of is if, say, you try to rush her back from this injury as well, then you're getting into this territory where a very serious injury can happen. That is what the Indiana Fever, that is what Caitlin need to avoid the best that they possibly can. So if it means that Caitlin is out for 3 weeks, if it means that she is out all the way through All-Star, then so.
Nationally televised WNBA viewership just fell off a cliff, down a jaw-dropping 55%. Indiana Fever games alone nosedived by 53%, tumbling from 1.81 million viewers with Caitlin Clark to a measly 847,000 without her. And here's where things go from disappointing to downright embarrassing. This collapse isn't shocking. It's exactly what happens when a league banks everything on one player and then refuses to protect her like the future depends on it.
Caitlin Clark went down. The WNBA ratings have dropped over 55% across the board.
Hey, guess what, guys?
The league is Caitlin Clark.
The league is Caitlin Clark. She is the WNBA, guys.
Sidelined with a left quad strain May 24th, national TV viewership has plunged since then 55%. Before the injury, the Fever, her team, were averaging 1.81 million viewers, almost 2 million. Since her injury, fewer than 850,000.
While Caitlin Clark was out here doing the heavy lifting, packing arenas, shattering TV ratings, and driving a historic revenue boom, the WNBA stuck to its usual game plan, standing still. Despite Clark generating a staggering 26.5% of the league's total economic activity, officials seemed more interested in preaching about basketball plays than actually enforcing rules. Because somehow, the response to having a once-in-a-generation star was to let her get bulldozed nightly, while the league issued tone-deaf pressers and shrugged at the chaos.
This news is alarming for the league, and it's alarming for the league because this is such a crucial year for the WNBA. At the end of this season, the WNBA will go into CBA negotiations. If negotiations go well, then every single player in the WNBA has a much better chance of making so much more in their next contract. And that's one thing when you start thinking about how many people stopped watching when Caitlin Clark got injured. A lot of people stopped watching because they are boycotting the WNBA. They don't want to give viewership to any other teams or any other players, whether they like other players on the team or not, because of how the media and the league itself has handled Caitlin Clark and how they have treated her.
What's especially maddening, and not in a charming, teachable moment kind of way, is how the WNBA keeps running the same doomed playbook like it's never seen the ending. This isn't the first time the league's momentum collapsed the second its biggest star went down. It's deja vu with a side of denial. They've watched viewership tank before under the same conditions, yet here they are again, reaching for the metaphorical hot stove, getting scorched, and acting shocked like they didn't already have the burn marks to prove this was coming.
Now, what's really concerning about this is the fact that we are only a month into the regular season, and Caitlin Clark has already been out with 2 injuries. With the first one being her having to miss some time with a left quad strain. Now, of course, this is concerning because if you're already on your second injury, you don't want to be that player that is always hurt. Cough, cough, Embiid, cough, cough, Anthony Davis. So I really do hope that the fever really sits her out right now for a while, only because you don't want her to have more long-term injuries and be more prone.
If you want Caitlin Clark come back, we are with you. So please leave a like and subscribe our channel and type CC come back we are with you in comments. Blow. The financial devastation has been swift and merciless. Ticket prices for Fever games have plummeted by 71%, with some tickets dropping from $86.00 to just $25.00. The average ticket price across Clark's missed games fell from $137.00 to $80.00, representing a staggering decline that speaks volumes about who actually drives interest in this league. Road games that had been moved to larger arenas specifically to accommodate the demand for Clark tickets are now struggling to fill venues that would have been packed to capacity with her presence. The Chicago Sky vs. Fever rematch, one of the most anticipated games of the season, saw ticket prices crash from $210.00 to $95.00 on average, with the cheapest tickets available for around $25.00. This is the same matchup that previously drew 2.25 million viewers, making it one of the most watched WNBA games in history. But without Clark, it becomes just another game that casual fans have no interest in watching.
Man, bruh. Congratulations to the WNBA. Your ratings are going to drop by 55 to 60% once again. I believe the WNBA have successfully broken Caitlin Clark.
Christine Brennan, the veteran sports journalist whose upcoming book, On Her Game, Caitlin Clark and the Revolution in Women's Sports, promises to expose the league's failures, has been one of the most vocal critics of the WNBA's handling of their star player. The WNBA continues to fail to meet the moment, Brennan wrote after yet another incident where Clark was targeted by opponents. People are watching as never before, and this is what they see? Brennan's criticism cuts to the heart of the matter. The league has data showing that Clark alone draws more than half the league's TV audience, yet they continue to allow her to receive cheap shots and hard fouls that serve no purpose other than trying to intimidate their biggest draw. It's like watching a restaurant owner allow customers to harass the chef, whose cooking is the only reason people visit the establishment.
As big a deal as Tiger was in men's golf, Keith, he did, and when he was gone, it affected the ratings, but nothing like that. And, Michael Jordan being out, maybe a 5 percentage points or something. Nothing like this. You can make a strong case, and I will make that case, and have that there is no one single athlete more important to his or her sport or tour or whatever the circuit is that they play on than Caitlin Clark is to the WNBA.
The pattern has become as predictable as it is maddening. Clark gets fouled hard by opponents who seem more interested in making statements than playing basketball. Of the league's 30 flagrant fouls handed out in 2024, 5 were committed against Clark, with the Chicago Sky responsible for 80% of the flagrant fouls against her. When she responds to the physical play, She gets criticized for being too aggressive. When she doesn't respond, she gets criticized for being soft. It's a no-win situation that the league has created and refuses to address. Meanwhile, the financial impact continues to devastate not just the Fever, but the entire WNBA ecosystem. The league was already projected to lose $50 million 0 cents this year, despite the Clark-driven surge in popularity. Without her on the court, those losses are mounting at an alarming rate. As television ratings collapse, merchandise sales slow, and attendance figures return to pre-Clark levels.
I don't even know where to begin, man. I hope Caitlin Clark is okay. I want to know when this injury even happened, bro, because let's be serious here. She has the quad injury. Mind you, Caitlin Clark hadn't missed a game since she was like 19 years old, since she was like 18 in college or something. Now she has a groin injury. We've never seen Caitlin Clark play as bad as she played the last 3 games. Let's just be serious here. She's like 1 for 20-something on threes in the last 3. We've never seen her shoot the ball this way. I'll say that. Has she been hurt and playing through?
The most damning aspect of this entire situation is that it was completely preventable. Clark came into the league as a humble rookie who repeatedly praised her teammates and deflected attention from herself. She handled criticism with remarkable grace and maturity for someone who was only 22 years old. The league could have embraced her, protected her, and used her popularity to elevate the entire sport. Instead, they allowed jealousy and petty politics to poison what should have been a celebration of women's basketball. The ripple effects of Clark's injury extend far beyond television ratings and ticket sales. Corporate sponsors who invested millions based on the Clark-driven growth are now questioning whether their investments were wise. Television networks that paid premium prices for WNBA broadcast rights are watching their audiences evaporate. Other players who were hoping to negotiate higher salaries based on the league's recent success are finding their leverage completely undermined by the stark evidence that one player was responsible for most of the growth. This situation reveals a fundamental problem with how the WNBA positions itself. The league seems caught between wanting to be taken seriously as a professional basketball organization and wanting to embrace every bit of manufactured drama that might generate social media engagement. You can't have it both ways. Professional leagues protect their stars and maintain competitive integrity. High school drama clubs manufacture controversy and hope someone pays attention.
Good. One thing I admire about Caitlin, she's a warrior. She's tough. You hear me? Bruh, you just don't see players, you don't see female basketball players like her. I'm sorry. I haven't seen a lot of female basketball players, like I said.
The comparison to other professional sports leagues is stark and embarrassing. Can you imagine if the NBA allowed players to spend months targeting LeBron James with dirty plays while claiming it was just competitive basketball? The league would shut that down immediately and issue suspensions faster than you could say flagrant foul. But the WNBA seems perfectly content to let this destructive pattern continue, apparently believing that any attention is good attention. The league's failure to protect Clark has created a toxic environment where fans are refusing to watch other WNBA games because they've lost trust in the competitive integrity of the sport. When your own fans are saying they won't watch games without your biggest star because they don't trust that the games will be fairly officiated, you have a serious credibility problem that goes far beyond ratings and revenue.
Needs to clean up. I believe the physicality and all this hacking and fouling that goes on. She getting blindsided by Marina Mabry. I think all of this stuff is having a wear and tear and an impact. And all you guys are doing are hurting yourselves because the numbers are going to drop and drop and drop. And trust me, when it's time for that collective bargaining agreement, they are going to point to this and say, well, how can we give you guys all this money? What happens if she gets hurt?
What makes this situation even more infuriating is that the WNBA has had multiple opportunities to course correct, and they've failed every single time. Each incident involving Clark should have been a wake-up call for the league to establish clear standards about player protection and competitive integrity. Instead, Each incident has been met with the same tired responses about basketball plays and letting the players play. The irony is that Clark's injury, the very thing the league should have been working to prevent, has provided the clearest possible evidence of her value to the organization. The 55% drop in viewership isn't subtle. The 71% decline in ticket prices isn't ambiguous. The collapse in merchandise sales isn't open to interpretation. The data is overwhelming and undeniable. Caitlin Clark is the WNBA's most valuable asset, and without her, the league returns to its previous state of struggling for relevance. Yet, even with this crystal-clear evidence, there's little indication that the WNBA has learned its lesson. League officials continue to make statements about competitive balance and letting players be physical, as if hard fouls and dirty plays are somehow essential to the sport. They continue to treat routine basketball plays involving Clark as major incidents, while ignoring actual dangerous plays committed against her.
NBA every day because of the way they play the game, because I love the WNBA. I love the way they play the game. But we really watch it because Caitlin Clark and everybody watching. Now listen, if I keep bumping her, knocking her down, might get her a concussion, you might hurt her for real. For 2 weeks, she was done with like a hamstring. She was down. 55% of the viewership was down. She comes back the next game, it's about 3 million viewers. Now let me tell you something. Growing up in the hood, they teach you this. Always protect the money. Y'all keep hurting her and all that. She's going for a year or two. Ain't nobody gonna watch it. If nobody watches, how y'all gonna make and generate?
The solution to this crisis isn't complicated, but it requires the WNBA to make some hard decisions about what kind of league they want to be. If they want to be taken seriously as a professional basketball organization, they need to start acting like one. They need to establish clear guidelines about player protection and enforce them consistently. They need to stop allowing manufactured controversies to overshadow the actual basketball being played. Most importantly, they need to recognize that their biggest stars, especially the ones who actually fill arenas and drive television ratings, deserve protection from the kind of targeting and harassment that serves no purpose other than generating social media drama. Caitlin Clark has elevated women's basketball more than any player in recent memory. The league's continued failure to protect her is both short-sighted and self-destructive. The ongoing collapse in viewership, attendance, and revenue without Clark serves as a harsh reminder of what the WNBA was before she arrived and what it will become again if they don't change their approach. The league averaged just 555,000 viewers this season without Clark, well below last year's average of 670,000. These numbers represent a return to the pre-Clark era of empty arenas and irrelevant games that nobody outside of hardcore fans bothered to watch.
What I saw walking to the game is what the media don't see. Thousands of kids.
Wearing what, Gil?
Kids. Huh?
What were they
Caitlin
wearing?
Clark jerseys.
Were they Fever jerseys? Were they Iowa jerseys? Were they
Wherever she played. It was whatever she played.
And that's what was more impressive to me.
It did that. It wasn't just it was Caitlin in the back.
For her style of play.
But her style of play. But it wasn't what we were. It wasn't adults. Right. It was parents bringing their kids and their friends. Mm-hmm. Them seats was kids filled.
Right.
And that's what they don't understand. They don't grasp that part of it.
The most tragic aspect of this entire situation is that it didn't have to happen this way. With proper protection and promotion of their star player, the WNBA could have used Clark's popularity to build a sustainable foundation for long-term growth. Instead, they've created a house of cards that collapses the moment their biggest draw steps away from the court. Until the WNBA learns to protect and promote the players who actually drive interest in their league, they'll continue to cycle through these boom and bust periods, where one player's presence or absence determines whether anyone bothers to pay attention. The current crisis should serve as a wake-up call, but based on the league's track record, they'll probably learn all the wrong lessons and continue making the same mistakes that got them into this mess in the first place. The question isn't whether Caitlin Clark will return from her injury, She will. The question is whether the WNBA will finally learn to protect their golden goose, or whether they'll continue this destructive pattern until they've completely squandered the opportunity that Clark's popularity has provided. Based on everything we've seen so far, the smart money isn't on the league suddenly developing common sense. If you enjoyed leaving a like and subscribing, more videos are on the screen now.